but it's just so many mind games.
Mind games? What mind games?
I never talk about politics because I
actually had a date last night that was really, really, really bad.
Hey guys and girls, on Ask Japanese is your flashy fashion reporter, Kathy Cat, and today we're gonna go hit the streets of Tokyo and ask the foreigners that are here what they actually think about Japanese girls. Are they easy to become friends with? Are they easy to become girlfriends with? Let's find out and ask foreigners in Japan. Where are you guys from?
I'm from America,
Which state?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. And you are?
I'm also from America, and I'm from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
All right. How long have you guys been in Japan for?
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
3 months.
You're the fresh intake.
Yeah.
You're the fresh intake.
Fresh intake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Literally, when they opened the border, you were like, I am in here.
Yep,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It was kind of stressful, you know, and every day I was just like worried that they were going to be like, no, stay home, stay out. So yeah.
Did you come here for school, for work?
For work. Yeah.
So you came here for what? You made it in, finally.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, wonderful to have you here. What is your impression of Japanese girls?
Oh, we were just talking about that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, please go ahead. It's just so confusing.
ahead.
Yeah,
Okay, so I've been here for 3 months, right? And it goes so well, like the first week, and then I do understand the work pattern. I do understand that they, go to work in the morning and then come back late at night. So you might message them in the morning, and they'll message you back at nighttime. But it's just so many mind games.
Which mind games? What mind games?
Yeah, so like right now I'm talking to this girl, and she sounds like she's interested, but then she doesn't.
Oh.
And it's a back and forth, and I've been trying to go out with her for a second time, and then she's like, yeah, we could go out tomorrow. Oh, no, we can't. Oh, but I'm free the next day. I'm like, okay, let's go out then. I can't. I already made plans. I'm like, how is this possible? It's like this weird mind game. Sometimes I'm just like, what do girls think? So I don't know. Compared to like, I guess if I wanted to compare like with American girls, they're more direct. Here in Japan, it seems like they kind of, the term beat around the bush. They just don't want to be too direct. Maybe it's because they're like too nice to reject you. So I'm not sure. But I just have to take it nice and slowly, and I guess get adjusted to what's going on.
Oh my gosh, good luck. I like the comparison. How about you?
I kind of feel the same way. It's like very, very indirect here when talking with Japanese girls. But yeah, I mean, he pretty much said everything already. So I mean,
So how do you guys? I'm curious. Like, how you guys are trying to actually get to know Japanese girls?
In school, I got to meet some Japanese people. They like started coming back. They finished college, came back. So I had a friend of mine that she came here, and I told her, hey, I'm going to Japan. I kind of want to get ahead of myself, and like, what kind of dating apps are there in Japan? So then she told me about 2 apps, one called Pairs and another one called Tapple. Now it turns out Tapple, actually for both apps, you're supposed to, one, know Japanese at least, and then have a Japanese cell phone number. But because I downloaded Tapple, which was available for me in America, I couldn't register or anything. Yeah, so then eventually I came here, got my phone number, and then I got into, trying to go on dates.
So you couldn't get a head start because you needed a Japanese phone number.
Correct. Yeah, I couldn't get a head start on that. I don't know. I've never been a fan of like dating apps. I was kind of like skeptical about it. And then me being here, I don't know Japanese. So I cannot go up to someone and be like, hey, have like some small talk and then eventually be like, oh, okay, let's go. Like, hey, nice to meet you. Let's exchange numbers or something like that.
I think what I hear a lot through the grapevine is that you do like a language exchange. Those apps seem to be actually better than dating apps because you kind of like, you provide some English knowledge, they provide some Japanese knowledge, so you're learning some Japanese, and if you get along, it might go to the next level.
yeah.
Now that
like
you
hello
speak
talk.
about that, yes.
Yeah.
But like, okay, now that you got to the topic about like the language exchange, so I do want to learn Japanese, and the girls that I've met, they want to learn English, but they don't flip the script, I guess. So like if you try to ask them like, oh, how to say this word or how to say this phrase in Japanese, they might say it, but then completely avoid it again and just go back on track to English, which I don't mind, but it's like, maybe it should be kind of both ways, 50-50.
That's where you probably should go for the language app, I think. There's a couple of language apps, because then the kind of deal is we teach each other. And that's actually how I know one of my friends found his wife. So that's been going really well for them. So some of those language apps seem to be dating apps in a way. If you get along and you have things to talk about, it works out.
Okay.
Giving dating advice now, apparently. What's the good and the bad about Japanese girls?
I think the good thing, as I'm a foreigner, so they're like super nice with me in a way. Like they're always curious about if I feel comfortable or what I think is good in Japan, and where like they have lot of things to share with me, and it's super interesting. And they're more like maybe like they send in message like more than boys, maybe like more like last minute things. Like
Spontaneous.
Yeah, they're spontaneous because sometimes they just see the story on Instagram and say, "Oh, you're in Shibuya. What are you doing? And let's go for a drink." But never boys. Like maybe if it's like a friend. No, like a friend is the same, but like for like more romantic stuff, it's not the case. Sometimes it's difficult to have deeper conversations with Japanese girls, like something like philosophy or more. Already I have like this kind of conversation, but like it takes time. It's not something. Because in France, sometimes you meet a person and you can like after 2 hours have a super deep conversation for no reason, and I love that. But in Japan, it's really rare.
Deep conversations apart from philosophy, what else do you like to talk about as a deep conversation?
And deep conversation, I like to go about environment, about like all the concerns I have about like life, or not super happy talk sometimes, but for me it's like nice to have this kind of talk with the person in front of you, because you can evaluate if we have the same values or not, if we can like get along together.
Like a deep conversation. I think that's maybe something the Europeans do. I'm from Europe too. It's like we like having this moment where we sit together and suddenly talk really deep about like politics, the environment.
Like for example, I never talk about politics because I know like it's not a topic we talk usually in Japan. So even myself, I just avoid the subject a lot of times. Even like for like recently about Ukraine stuff, and having this kind of conversation with Japanese people, usually it's not that they don't care, but they're not like they don't get all the information we get, maybe because, for example, I can make my own speech in English, in French. Maybe I have access to more articles or like more contents about things like that. And Japanese people, they're more like close to the rest of the world sometimes.
Maybe because it's an island, or maybe because in school it's not really pushed to do that.
For example, in France we have the philosophy class in high school. For us, like normal topic to talk that deep subject because we learned about it at school. But it's not the case in Japan. So I totally understand that's why they don't talk about it that naturally.
Good point.
It's a bit similar. I do feel like being a foreigner here, you may get more attention in general from girls just because you're different from what they're used to seeing on a daily basis, especially if you live out of like the heart of Tokyo. The experience is overall positive, and I think that's the image that a lot of people overseas think as well. It's just more positive in general, I think.
To get a little bit more attention. People are like, "Who are you from? Where are you from?"
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Do you also find like it's a little bit harder to become very close with them or something?
Yeah, for just like a personal connection that's more than superficial, like, oh, you're a foreigner, you're interesting, and more just to get to know you as a person, that does become more difficult. You may find that if your interests don't align, they're not really willing to learn about your interests so much from my experience. And it's just more about the being different part, being a foreigner, and that draws them to you instead of who you are as a person.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Zach. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. And my job is a digital media professional.
All right. Do you do YouTube?
Yeah, I do YouTube. My YouTube channel is Zach Phoenix. So you just if you search PHX787 on YouTube, my channel will pop up.
Now, what's the good and the bad about the Japanese ladies?
Oh, that's a good question. because I actually had a date last night that was really, really, really bad.
Fantastic. I'd love to hear that story.
Well, I'm not going to go into details, but I think the good is, I think they're very well, in general. I hate generalizing, but Japanese women are they're very caring for their loved ones. Like they will go out of their way to make sure that you're okay. And like my ex-girlfriends, for example, they could tell if I was feeling bad or having a rough day, and she would I remember one that was at my ex-girlfriend's house, and she could tell I was having a rough day, and she just made me my favorite dinner. I didn't ask her to do that. We were planning on going out to eat. She was like, let's just stay in, I'll cook for you. I'm like, oh my god, that's so nice.
Oh, that is sweet. But it's your ex-girlfriend, so what happened there?
When COVID happened, we just kind of drifted apart.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Long story short, but the bad part is, and this is tying into what I said about having a rough date last night, is it's very hard for me to kind of understand what they're thinking or what their intentions are, right? So I've lived here long enough. I should understand, hone tatemae and, pick up on signals by now. But no, I guess I still haven't been able to figure that out yet. So, unless they grow up overseas, which is a lot of the women I've dated in the past, they're returnees or they're hafu, right? Unless they grow up overseas and stuff and they know how to interact with foreigners, it's really, really hard to kind of gauge and interpret what a Japanese woman says to me. Is this okay? Are they expressing something that they want to do, or are they just being polite or something, right? It's always tough to figure that out,
So they're good at reading your emotions,
yes,
but it's hard for you to read their emotions.
Yeah, exactly. Westerners, we have this thing where we can just kind of express ourselves openly, right? So it's easy for them to understand that if we're having a bad day or not, because I'll be walking in the room like, right? Let's see. I was on a date with this girl once when I was in college, okay? And
It was in Japan?
It was in Japan, yeah. She was at university. So, she was actually one of the Miss Waseda contestants that year.
God,
Oh, yeah.
you got a hottie there.
I think she still does modeling to this day, but we only dated for a little bit of time, but it was a very fun, 5 or 6 months that we were together. I showed up at her place and she was like, okay, meet me here. And then I was like, okay, I have no idea what we're going to do today. We end up just going all over the city. She took me to Mori Tower, to the museum up there. And we ended up getting some food in Roppongi that was at this restaurant. I don't know how we ended up walking from Azabu to Shibuya. But that evening, we ended up going to an Okinawan restaurant in Shibuya, and I fell in love with that restaurant, and I was really sad when it shut down last year because of COVID. But I went to her place at 11 o'clock in the morning, not knowing what to expect. She didn't really have a day planned either. We just, went all over the place, and that was a lot of fun,
She took you to a lot of places in one day.
Yeah, basically, and it was just, a nice Saturday out in the middle of February, so.
I'm curious because in Japan there seems to be the expectation that the guy does all the research and preps the date.
Right,
Have
yeah.
you hit that expectation?
Well, actually, another ex-girlfriend of mine, but she's actually from the Philippines. She actually would make all the date plans and stuff like that, and would get very frustrated when I didn't come up with any ideas. She's like, Zach, why don't you do anything? Why don't you plan anything? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll plan some things, right? So, but I feel like, that's a good point. A lot of Japanese women do have that idea. They're like, so what do you want to do, Zach? And when they ask me that, I have to be like, crap, okay, let's go here, let's do this.
But I need to be decisive.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily I've got a lot of places in mind in the back of my head, ikinari ikitai basho toka, right? Somewhere I have to really go, on the spot, right? So usually it's around here or in Shibuya. So it's not so hard to kind of come up with an idea on the spot, but if it gets repetitive, I think the girl kind of picks up on it. She's like, why are we going here again?
Oh, right. So it's kind of handy for a guy to have a kind of date plan in mind, general, to fall back on in case he gets the chance to get a date.
That's exactly it. There's a cat cafe up here at the corner, for example. I've gone there a few times on dates, right? Mm-hmm. Because I was like, I have no idea what we're doing today. All right, cat cafe it is.
Good idea. That's actually something for the notebooks, guys. Hold on, stop. There's more to tell you guys about being a foreigner in Japan, living in Japan, what foreigners are thinking about Japan and Japanese people, and that video is here. Be sure to go and check that one out next because it contains lots of that stuff that you'll love. So be sure to check it out. If you haven't checked out our socials, we have socials in the description box too, and I'll see you soon for another video on Ask Japanese.